it'll make such a big impact with me, millions of other kids that have food allergies, and their parents. So it'll make it so much easier for the parents, and the kids will feel so much safer when they dine out at restaurants.
Yeah, 4 million people in California are affected. And that number is just rising. In the last decade, tripled the amount of people with food allergies.
Welcome to the Don't Feed the Fear podcast, where we dive into the complex world of food allergy anxiety. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Whitehouse, food allergy anxiety psychologist and food allergy mom. Whether you're dealing with allergies yourself or supporting someone who is, join us for an empathetic and informative journey toward food allergy calm and confidence. Robyn and Addie, thank you so much for joining me here on Don't Feed the Fear. I'm so excited that you two powerhouses took the time to sit down and talk with me about something so important.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
So I think everybody kind of already knows what's going on, at least if they're listening to my podcast. But just in case someone catches this after the fact or who doesn't know, tell us what the two of you have been working so hard on, please.
We're on a bill. SB68 ADDE stands for Allergen Disclosure in Dining Experiences, and it'll have restaurants label the top 9 allergens on their menus.
All right. So your name is Addie, ADDIE, right? Did you have to do some work to find a name of a bill that you could make sort of almost match your name?
Yeah, the senator's office helped with that.
Awesome. I mean, you absolutely deserve, after all of this work, to have it named after you, right? From what I understand, other places already have been doing this for a very long time, right? Restaurant menus have the top allergens clearly labeled, correct?
We looked at some recent publications, and it's interesting. In the US, only about 9%, and this is in 2021, actually do have good labeling so far. So yes, there are some of our favorite restaurants that we can dine safely at because there is labeling, but many unfortunately have incomplete labeling or don't have any allergy information at all, which is why this is so important so that people can dine allergy safe.
And Addie, will you tell us in your words, from a kid your age and your perspective, what would life be like if this were the law?
I think I would feel so much safer dining out if this would be a law, because I would know actually what I would be eating. And yeah, and other adults don't have to worry about their kids.
Right. And I'm glad you said the word safe, because I think some people who don't understand food allergies, they think it's just, oh, it's a pain, it's an inconvenience, or maybe you don't have as many choices, but it's actually about your safety. Have you ever had any issues with that? Like where there were some safety concerns because there wasn't labeled?
One of the instances happened when she was probably only 2, so she may not remember, but we had gone to a restaurant, had the conversation with the waitstaff, naming all of her allergens, which currently is dairy, tree nuts, peanuts, and sesame. So at the time we ordered a hash brown and they said, oh yeah, that should be fine. It hit our table. She started eating it already because she's 2, obviously. And then when I spoke with the waitress one more time, I said, oh, just double checking this doesn't have peanut oil or anything, right? And she says, oh, yes, it does. And I'm like, oh my God. So I, of course, panicked, got her EpiPen out. Thank goodness I called her allergist at the same time, who made sure that we checked it was unrefined or refined peanut oil. So luckily it was refined, meaning all the peanut allergen trigger proteins were actually taken out. So she actually was safe. But absolutely a near miss event. Absolutely labeling would have helped in that instance. I think off the bat, when we asked the waitstaff, they didn't think about the oils or the different things. And even when they double checked, potentially that wasn't communicated with the chef. So anyways, I think a lot of these instances can be avoided. We just yesterday went to a wonderful restaurant that had labeling. They actually had an allergen binder, and we actually almost ordered the mac and cheese because it was a vegan restaurant, so obviously dairy free. And they said they use coconut for the base and not tree nuts, but there was a hidden allergen of sesame oil, which we caught because of the good labeling they had. And when we talked to the person when we were ordering, he was like, I have no idea, but here's the binder, because he didn't know off the top of his head any of the allergens, right? And so in a fast food kind of setting, there's not a chef that you can really speak to, right? And so it made it very safe, and we were able to catch that and avoid a near miss.
It's such a good example, because despite our best efforts to communicate clearly, we can't communicate every possible area where it might lie? And really, can we expect every server and restaurant staff in the entire nation to understand food allergies? We're still learning it decades in as parents, right? So on both ends, it seems like there's a lot of room for error that could be so easily eliminated with this bill, with Addie's Law.
Yeah, 100%.
What are you allergic to?
I'm allergic to dairy, peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame.
When she was little, we made a song so she would remember.
That's a great idea. Will you tell us about that? I think parents would love to hear that.
I don't actually remember it. We did?
Yeah, she was little in preschool then. And I just made it to like a little tune and she would just remember because it was so hard for her in case someone ever asked, when she went to school. We did little things like tags on her backpack. I made a QR code that they could scan with her information in case, things like that just helped with communication.
So this is not your first out of the box thinking as an allergy parent. It sounds like that's really creative that you did that.
It helps that I'm a nurse practitioner, so I take care of pediatric surgery patients. So obviously not an allergy, but I think this has been super eye-opening for me as a provider as well, just learning chronic illness management.
Absolutely. Well, and how did you make that decision then to take it beyond managing it in your daily life to tackling the laws?
Yeah, it was definitely a kind of incremental steps. So, and not sure if you remember, like FAIR used to do the thing in DC. And so Addie was interested with that. She had started being a Red Sneakers for Oakley ambassador and did a school-wide assembly on her own, which was fantastic last year in May, and really wanted to kind of do more. So she heard about that in DC. We tried to go, we couldn't make it happen. But I'm actually the legislative chair for our kind of local chapter that I started for pediatric nurse practitioners. It's called NAPNAP, National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners. So I'm the Sacramento chapter past president and legislative chair currently. And because we live in Sacramento, in the capital of California, we were able to organize a day at the Capitol. So I learned how to do that, set up meetings with senators, assembly members' offices. And Addie saw me doing this and she's like, oh, well, I want to join. I want to do this. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what a great idea. Let's do this for food allergy. And there was this little blurb on one of the assembly members' website that said, oh, do you have any ideas? Like this should be a law. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize you can do that, and propose something. So it was kind of all these little steps that kind of moved us forward. And so we did our day at the Capitol. We brought our little 2-pager proposal and ended up meeting Senator Menjivar's office that decided to help author the bill. So
that's great. It pays to make connections with other people who have food allergies, right? I understand that that's why the receptivity was there.
100%. Yeah. And initially we didn't know that she had food allergies herself. So it was actually kind of just happenstance. She was on the Senate Health Committee, had experience in the past as a paramedic. So we thought, reading her bio, that this might be a good alignment.
Addie, how many of those steps have you been able to be involved with? Because I imagine it's like a lot of meetings, a lot of people talking about what did you get to do?
So first me and Mom went to the Capitol and we introduced the bill. So we went from from office to office, talking to Senate aides.
And Addie had her own spiel too that she would start with. So she would definitely participate in all the meetings.
I introduced my name, my allergies, and I pretty much introduced why I want this bill to be a law.
Mm-hmm. And how did people respond, especially to someone your age talking about something so big and important?
They were pretty receptive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some even shared that they had food allergies themselves or knew of a family member.
Right. Which is bound to happen because so many people have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happened next?
Well, then Menjivar decided to take on the bill and authored it. So then we had to go again to the Capitol to persuade the Senate Health Committee to support our bill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went back in February during her little February week off of school. So it actually worked out well.
Good timing.
Yeah.
You're learning a lot about the legislative process along the way, even though that wasn't the goal, right? This is like a big educational process for you too. And mom too, I think most of us.
Oh yeah. And then my third visit was when I testified. And that time I had my whole class come with me.
I saw the pictures of that. What did that feel like to have all of them there supporting you?
Well, I felt really proud that all my classmates had come to support me and cheer me on.
Was that part of the school day? Did everyone went together and took a field trip?
Yeah, yeah.
And they got to meet with people too.
Yeah, so they would go to offices too, and they would have their little, they would have a few lines to talk to the aide.
About the topic and about your law? So what
Yeah.
kinds of things would they say different from what you were sharing?
Yeah, they would share a menu that didn't have any labeling, and they would ask the aide to try to figure out like which ones of them had soy, which ones of them had nuts, and you had no idea because there are no labeling.
How would you know? Pop quiz for them, right? Whose idea was that?
Yeah, Alexa.
Yeah, as Alexa.
She's our AFA advocacy coordinator. So she helped with that, which was a great idea. It was brilliant. And the kids loved it. She went to the class the day before and kind of gave them a little prep meeting and helped make posters.
I saw some of those posters and it just looked like it was such a community effort. Like it feels so good to be supported in something.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know there was recently a town hall with FAIR, which is our advocacy organization, and a lot of people are having a lot of feelings about that. So, Addie, were you able to attend? I know it was like during school day hours.
Yeah, she was unfortunately not able to attend, nor I was undecided if I wanted her to be there anyways. But I think it was good to hear from the community. We had over 100 people in attendance. We're still waiting for the recording, unfortunately. But really, what I'm hoping is that FAIR will choose to do the right thing and withdraw their opposition. I think what was said was that they wanted to provide amendments, which we are still waiting for. So Sung Pobletti did email me that afternoon after the town hall, and I responded asking for the amendments so we can meet, and I have not heard back. So unfortunately, with the legislative process, there are timelines, not made by us, but by the process itself to move things along, because she herself said that she wanted the bill to pass this year, which is wonderful. So do we. And so for that to happen, we do need amendments in by the first week of May, because we do have our Senate appropriations coming forward, and we're going to get that decision by the end of May if we can move forward past that committee.
Okay. And for those listening, we're recording this on April 21st of 2025. I hope to have this episode out tomorrow, the 22nd, but the first week of May is not far off from what we're talking about here. This is really crunch time. Do you have any indication whether it was during the town hall or in separate communication, other than kind of saying we could do better was the message that I got? What are the amendments in reference to?
Yeah, it's actually unclear. And I'd asked that question in the chat during the town hall, but didn't get a clear response. Mm-hmm. So she just kept referencing amendments. And so we are interested to hear what those are, because initially FAIR and CRA did meet with the Senate's office in February. And their initial ask was to cancel the bill. And so that's what they asked of the senator. And in response, the senator asked if they could bring forward amendments, because we were open to collaboration. The senator's office has been open the entire time. They followed up 2 more times in March, and I don't have the exact dates. April 1st was the last time they followed up, and still hadn't heard back. Unfortunately, all we did hear back was the letter of opposition. So this whole time we have been waiting for amendments, and we continue to wait for those, but I'm unclear what those amendments are and if they're feasible, but we're happy to have a discussion and hoping they will withdraw their opposition if they, in fact, are supportive of menu labeling, which they state they are.
Right. Do you want to speak to the piece of what we've learned about them working with the app, the electronic approach to this, and how you think that plays into the decision?
Yeah, good question. So, they referenced Every Bite, which I'm not too familiar, but it is a platform or an app that helps with menu labeling, I believe, that restaurants can basically use this platform to type in their recipes, and then users be able to search their allergens and get information on what is safe for them.
As the bill is written and stands right now, can you tell us more about what it's asking? What, people are saying the burden that it's placing on restaurant owners. So what is it actually asking of them?
Yeah, so it's definitely asking for what the meal contains. So top 9 allergens, if any of the meals contain the top 9. So we're not talking about cross contact. We're just talking about if it indeed contains, that it states clearly on the menu what the meal contains. I know there have been questions about precautionary labeling. Even for packaged goods currently, that is not yet mandated. So that's still voluntary, which we felt that because it's still voluntary for packaged foods, we couldn't ask that for non-packaged foods at this time. Right. This is obviously our first stepping stone, right? To move things.
I think it speaks to what many of us in the community feel there's a lot of room for growth in all of our laws, but we're still glad that those laws exist as they stand now, even though they are not ideal at the moment, right? I think that's the spirit with any of this.
Yeah. And I think FAIR's point was they wanted to look more towards, advanced ideas of using, these app platforms, et cetera, which we are open to. But I think we have to start with, unfortunately, what the UK and the EU have had in place for the last 10 years, which is just simple labeling.
And is it that simple? Just they're required to do what you just described, label the top allergens if they are contained in the meal on the menu that's handed to you at the restaurant.
Correct. That's what we're asking for.
Okay. Yeah. How long has that been in place in the EU?
Yeah, since 2014.
Okay. So it's doable. I think it's important for people for small restaurants to say, we could do this. This is doable, right?
Yeah. So at the town hall, Brian Hom, he's a food allergy father, and he unfortunately lost one of his sons, to food allergies. So he spoke up, and he's a small business restaurant owner with Vitality Bowls. And he said, absolutely, this is something we can do. And, said, put it on your menu. Don't wait. We need to save lives. So, I think it's really important. And to hear it from him as a restaurant owner himself is so powerful.
Absolutely. And nobody wants to take on liability these days. So if they can further protect themselves, it seems like it would be in everyone's best interest, even if it's a change. People just don't like change. They resist it.
Yeah. And with this bill, there's no increased liability to restaurants. I think that's a concern of CRA. But when we spoke with some lawyers, it sounded like there's no increased liability at all. If anything, it's shared now with the customer now that it's disclosed.
Right. And reduced risk, I would think.
100%. There's actually literature out there. It's so interesting. In 2021, there's a journal article that was published by the American College of Asthma, Allergy, and Immunology, and they actually used the FAIR database information for this study, but they showed that, it went from 53% risk of reactions with just verbal conversations about allergens with the waitstaff. That number went all the way down to 13% after menu labeling and verbal communication. So, obviously, FAIR had stated before false sense of security, but food allergy parents, food allergy patients, they're going to have those verbal conversations and still double check. And that's still very, very necessary. This just starts the conversation with good information, right? And so the data shows that this is going to decrease reaction rates. That was part of how we kind of thought about this bill initially. Is Addie had a wonderful experience at a dumpling restaurant. We're Chinese, so we went to a restaurant which oftentimes there's not very good labeling for kind of Asian restaurants, right? And sesame, unfortunately, is very hard because
we have sesame in my house too. My son's been begging me for dumplings, and I haven't.
So I actually learned how to make them myself for home, but we always wanted her to join in at restaurants. So this one restaurant had a wonderful grid, top 9. And then we were able to find out, oh, great, the one with chicken, not with pork, doesn't have sesame. And when we ordered, they have it on their ordering device, all the ingredients listed to double check. They check again with the chef. We just went again 2 nights ago to this restaurant, and amazing. Like, she was able to eat with us together for Mother's Day, and I literally cried at the table. I'm like, this is so remarkable that labeling can really open the doors. Yeah. And it was a really safe experience. So this is what we wanted for the food allergy community.
Yeah. Addie, can you tell us what that was like? Mom teared up. It was so emotional for her. But how is it for you?
Did you love it? Yeah, I felt excited that they had that for me. And I think I should be feeling that for every restaurant. It's like can dine safely.
Absolutely. What are people saying to you when you're sharing, you're doing so much advocating for the law? What's the feedback that the two of you are getting from kids and from adults and other parents?
Definitely people are telling us, we definitely need this. Thank you so much for the good work. I think they're really excited because they understand this is something that will change their lives and really save lives. Being in healthcare, we're all about a culture of safety. Addie knows I'm kind of a paranoid mom because I deal with trauma. I've worked in the pediatric ICU in the past. I've seen a lot of terrible things. And unfortunately, a lot of it is preventable, and so that's why we have seatbelt laws, helmet laws, things like that, right? And so this is just one of those things. We want to change the culture of food safety.
Exactly. I think that's such a good point. We look at all these other things. I think of MAD, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving organization, made so much change in our country about something that was so preventable. And we have to take action and we have to speak up for what we want. And I have so much respect for you along those lines of what you're doing for all of our kids and all of us adults too. Would you say kind of what you're hearing back from other folks after the Fair Town Hall and what their reaction was, or kind of what responses you're getting?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of shock. I think when the fair opposition letter came out, obviously I was very shocked, but I don't think the food allergy community knew about that quite yet until the hearing happened. And then fair posted, obviously, and just it coming out more to the public. I think a lot of it is the sentiment of, wow, fair should be representing the food allergy community. They are our advocacy group. And how have they turned their backs on us? So I'm really hoping that can be corrected, that they will come along because I think it's really needed. But we do have over 35 organizations that have signed on to support. It's a really community-driven bill. So we have, almost 1,000 individuals that signed on for the bill separately. We had over 25 individual support letters of allergy patients, mothers telling their own story of why this is needed. We just had the American Nurses Association in California sign on, the American College of Asthma, Allergy, Immunology. There's definitely a lot of support for this. And I think the blessing in disguise with all of this coming out is that more people know about the bill now to want to support further.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. And I was wondering, are you on social media? Do you have any social media accounts? You do? I mean, I follow your account. Is it you? Do you help with that?
Yeah.
She sees what I'm posting, yeah. But mostly it's mom that's monitoring.
I figured. But do you get to see how excited everybody is about what you're doing? And like everybody knows who you are. Everybody in food allergies is like, go Addie. It's not just your classroom with posters. It's all of us.
That's amazing.
Do you know that? Do you get to hear any of it or read any of it?
Yeah, sometimes down at the comments, like you'll see people like go Addie.
That's how excited we all are about you and everything you're doing. And obviously it's so powerful to have a face to put with the law and all of the change that we've all wanted for so long.
This is so exciting. I know we're so honored because really Addie and I are pretty new to food allergy advocacy, right? Mm-hmm. And so all the people that we used to follow, and we still follow, of course, Elijah Olavi Foundation, Allergy Strong, like they are just coming out to help support us, which has been amazing for us.
Yeah. Well, for the people who are listening, I mean, I know some of those amazing organizations, many of them are on your side. For the folks who are your everyday allergy community people, what can they do? What else can they do at this point where the law is to help support and move forward and push through some of what feels like resistance from FAIR?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they live in California, they have to be California residents for this piece. But if they want to join me in meetings with the Senate offices, May 12th is when I'll be doing that next. And that can be virtual. So virtual or in person if you happen to live near Sacramento. But if you don't, virtual is definitely an option. We're working on setting up those meetings now because after it passes the Senate Appropriations Committee, it would go to the Senate floor. And so we definitely need help. There's a lot of meetings that we'll have to be doing. And with the Assembly side in mind too, we may start also offering some meetings there too. So there's a sign up link on our website, Addie Tells All, that you can sign up there. And then if you are not a California resident or that day doesn't work, that's okay too. We really want restaurants, businesses, any organization, that all means so much. I think really showing the community support is so important. We know there's one organization that's currently not there yet, but it doesn't matter. We have a lot of others that are in support, and we would love that to be official and have them sign on to the joint letter with AFA. So there's another link on our website as well. If you want to sign on for that outreach effort, we can definitely share information and links that can be sent to their organizations and friends. Think widely what your connections are. to kind of help with that. And organizations don't have to be just California based. So in any national organizations, if there's a group that thinks this is important and wants to sign on, super important for that to happen as well. So, I think it's just so meaningful to the community, right? And so what the legislative offices want to see is that support behind it. So it really helps to have them sign on to these letters. And if there are restaurants that, people frequent and, that have wonderful labeling or are really food allergy friendly, go there and ask them. I think that's all really helpful of like featuring them, giving them kudos, making sure they know we appreciate it, and then asking them to sign on to support since they're already doing some of this.
Right. And because I think the businesses who are doing it have learned that once they get our business, we are loyal, repeat, spend, buy all the things, order everything on the menu customers because it's such a treat, right?
100%. And, the reason why we're doing this is so we can dine out, right? Like we want to be part of that dining out community. We want to be out there and support businesses. So I think this is going to be a win-win in the end.
And I think that is an important point. A lot of us have been having very complicated emotional responses to the opposition from FAIR. What can happen is when we feel that feeling of surprise, or I think some people had used the word betrayal. I don't want to speak for you, but we put a lot of faith and time and money toward fundraising and all the things that we do. So when we feel that sense of betrayal, our nervous system shuts down. We want to give up. I know you're not giving up. So give us more hope. Things are still on track as far as moving forward with the meetings and the hearings. What else needs to happen next? Senate appropriations is the next, correct?
Mm-hmm. So even with the letters opposition from California Restaurant Association and FAIR, we did pass successfully through the Senate Health Committee 11-0. So that was just an overall majority vote, which was amazing. Our next step is the Senate Appropriations Committee, which looks at the financial impact of the bill. So that's currently in process. Basically, by May 23rd, we should know if that passes or not. And then it moves on to the Senate floor, which is that first week in June. They don't set the exact date yet until as it comes closer. But that first week in June, we'll know if we pass the Senate or not to move forward to the Assembly side. Okay. And then on the Assembly side, if people want to come in person, just like they saw with the Senate Health Committee, that's that next opportunity. So that's where there's going to be testimony, in-person support opportunities, and that will be probably around June, July, late June, July time for the Senate Assembly Health Committee, And that's where that would be really impactful. So obviously those dates will be marked out later. But then it goes to Assembly Appropriations after that, Assembly floor. And then we should know if it reaches the governor's office September, October. So really the last kind of dates for a bill to become a law this cycle for this year would be that first week in October.
For this next step, for the Senate Appropriation Committee, the amendments have to be finalized at that step. Am I understanding correctly?
Good questions. So we want the amendments to be in by this Senate Appropriations. That's when the amendments need to go in. Really by May 2nd, because, in the legislative process, things have to go through, right? It has to be reviewed, legislative council, et cetera. It has to be entered by correct timing before, it can't be right before they vote. It has to be so that committee has time to review it, et cetera. So, there's this whole process. There's a timeline. And so we're really hoping to move forward.
Addie, what else do you want to tell us about why you think this law matters and we should all keep supporting you to keep pushing it forward?
I think that we should keep pushing it forward because it'll make such a big impact with me, millions of other kids that have food allergies, and their parents. So it'll make it so much easier for the parents, and the kids will feel so much safer when they dine out at restaurants.
I agree. And we all want kids to be safer, and adults. I think a lot of us forget there are millions of adults who have food allergies too, who hasn't been as much advocacy in their lifetimes, and they're used to just dealing with it on their own and not having so much support and resources and options. Adults deserve it too, right?
Yeah. 4 million people in California are affected. And that number is just rising. In the last decade, tripled the amount of people with food allergies. So
I like to ask everybody who comes on the podcast, tell me something awesome about food allergies.
It's so interesting that this has brought us to this point where we're making so many new friends. in the food allergy community. I mean, I think the support has been so outstanding that it's really wonderful. You know, it's kind of been this passion project of ours that now has become this bill that I can't even believe how far we've come and just how far we're going to be going with this. So it's really exciting to know how connected we are to the community.
Thank you for doing all of that for the community. We're all eager to back you. What about you, Addie?
I think that with all this legislation, I'm learning more about the legislative process while making this bill.
Yeah. And Robyn, I'm sure you'll agree. All of us as food allergy parents watch our kids, and whatever comes to you in your life that you have to tackle makes each and every one of you and us as parents so much stronger. So Addie, you're learning about the law. Do you think you might want to do something with that someday, or do you have other ideas for your future?
Yeah,
tell her what you
want
want to be.
an allergist when I grow up.
Oh my gosh, you're going to have so many patients. Everyone's going to want to you because you like the laws are going to all be named after you. Like my doctor's Addie of Addie's Law. So cool.
Addie's been so resilient with this. During COVID, that's when we started her little YouTube project, just because I never learned how to cook kind of growing up. And so needing to kind of learn how to make safe foods for Addie, we kind of did it together, looking at Pinterest recipes. And then we wanted to remember how to make certain things. So we started making little videos, and then we're like, oh yeah, we should just post this so other people can use them. So it's kind of been this little journey of ours. She just made a little Easter treat lemon bar recipe recently. So we're still doing that for fun, but it's something that we've kind of grown together.
Yeah, and you called it a little journey, but it's not so little anymore. It got very big.
Yeah.
So I ask my son, who has allergies, every time I have an interview, what he wants me to ask, because he's the reason that I'm doing all of this. I promised him I would figure out how to make him dumplings. What is the best recipe? Peanut, tree nut, sesame. And I know, sesame is the hardest thing to avoid. So tell me what to do.
We have a YouTube video.
Yeah.
All right. And what's the YouTube channel?
Addie Tells All.
Oh, that's the name of the YouTube channel too. Okay.
Yeah, she loves pot stickers and dumplings. That's her favorite food. So
I'm sure that everybody in our house will too, once I take the time to figure that out. What else are you hoping to share?
People who are interested in supporting to reference our website and clicking on those links so that we can keep in touch and stay organized. And opportunities like this is so important. Thank you for letting us use your platform to help get the word out. And I would encourage anyone who wants to help, tell at least 5 to 10 people, because it's all about connections, all about building our community of supporters and really helping move that forward.
Okay, good. Tell someone, sign up, share this, send this, get the word out. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts, Addie, for the last words?
Yeah, I want kids with allergies like me to know that even though that we're small, we can still make a difference.
Absolutely. Thank you for making a difference for you and for everyone in California. And I'm all the way in New York, but I know that everyone is energetic and motivated by what you're doing. So thank you for doing that, because I know it's not just going to be California. This is going to change the way food allergies are handled in our country. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big changes coming.
California started with nutrition labeling and brought it to the rest of the US. So I'm hoping the same for this.
Yeah. Thank you on our behalf for everything that you're doing for all of us.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
You don't need me to list action steps for you today. Robyn and Addie did that perfectly. So check the show notes if you need the links, and take action and share with anyone and everyone you can, especially the connections and people that you might know in California. Thanks for listening. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any questions about your own medical experience or mental health needs, please consult a professional. I'm Dr. Amanda Whitehouse. Thanks for joining me. And until we chat again, remember, don't feed fear.